Two people wake up at the same time tomorrow morning. Same alarm, same amount of sleep, same commute, same job, same obligations waiting for them. By 10 in the morning, one of them is calm, focused, and already ahead. The other is behind, irritable, and running on caffeine and low-grade panic. Nothing different happened to them. The day has not even started yet. The only thing that separated them was what occurred in the first 60 minutes after their eyes opened. That first hour is not a warm-up. It is not the boring part before the real day begins. It is the part that decides what the real day is going to be. And almost nobody treats it that way. Most of us treat the morning as an obstacle, something to get through as quickly as possible so the day can start. We compress it, skip it, outsource it to caffeine, and hand whatever is left of it to a screen. And then we spend the following 12 hours trying to fix, with effort and willpower, a state that was set before we ever left the house. In Japan, the morning is not a scramble to be survived. It is understood as the foundation the entire day is built on, and it is constructed deliberately, in a specific order, for specific reasons. By the end of this video, you will have that exact sequence. Step 4 is the one almost everyone gets backwards, and getting it right changes the entire shape of the afternoon. And step 7 is the one that determines whether the other 6 actually last past the first week. Before we walk through it, we need to talk about why the first hour has such disproportionate power, because it is not motivational language. There are real mechanisms. When you wake, your body performs something called the cortisol awakening response, a natural, sharp rise in cortisol in the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking. This is not a malfunction. It is what pulls you from sleep into alertness, mobilizes energy, and sets your baseline for the day. Here is what matters. That rise is highly sensitive to what happens during it. Load stress onto it, notifications, urgent messages, bad news rushing, and the spike climbs higher and stays elevated far longer. Give it calm, light, water, and movement instead, and it rises cleanly and resolves on schedule, leaving you alert rather than wired. The same window sets your circadian clock, which governs your energy curve, your hunger, your focus, and how well you will sleep tonight. 1 hour, quietly determining the physiological conditions for the following 16. There is one more reason the first hour carries so much weight, and it is psychological rather than chemical. The way a day begins sets an expectation for how the day will go, and the mind looks for evidence to confirm it. A morning that begins in a scramble teaches you, before 8 o'clock, that today is a day you're behind on. Everything afterward gets filtered through that. A morning that begins calmly and in order teaches the opposite, and the same difficulties later in the day land on a very different foundation. So the question is not whether your first hour matters. It is whether you are designing it or letting it happen to you. 7 steps. The order matters as much as the steps. Step 1. Wake at the same time and get up on the first decision. Not the snooze, not the negotiation. Your eyes open and you get up. Here is the specific reason snoozing hurts more than it seems to. When you drift back to sleep for 9 minutes, your brain often begins descending into a deeper sleep stage, and being pulled out of that produces stronger sleep inertia, the groggy, heavy-limbed fog that can then linger for an hour or more. You are not getting extra rest. You are paying for 9 minutes with 60. But there is something larger happening too. The first decision of your day is a template. Getting up immediately is a small, clean act of follow-through, and it sets a tone of doing what you said you would do. Negotiating with yourself in the first 30 seconds sets the opposite tone, and the day tends to follow that pattern. Consistency compounds this. A fixed wake time anchors the circadian clock. So within a couple of weeks, waking becomes easier because the body is expecting it. If getting up immediately feels impossible, make the first movement smaller rather than trying to summon more willpower. Sit up and put both feet on the floor. That is the entire commitment. Almost nobody sits on the edge of the bed with their feet down and then lies back down, because the hard part was never standing up, it was the decision, and you have already made it. Same time, first decision, up. That is step 1. Step 2, open the room before you open your phone. Immediately after rising, open a window, even briefly, even in cold weather. 2 or 3 minutes. Overnight, a closed bedroom accumulates carbon dioxide, and studies of indoor air quality have consistently associated elevated indoor CO2 with reduced alertness and clarity. That thick, heavy feeling in a stuffy morning bedroom is not entirely psychological, but the deeper purpose is sequencing. This is a physical action taken immediately. That is not a screen. It occupies the exact moment most people hand to their phone. And that is the whole point. The phone is not being resisted through willpower, it is being displaced by something else arriving first. Japanese homes traditionally open to the morning air as a matter of course. The room is refreshed before the person is. And notice how much easier this is than trying to resist your phone through discipline? Willpower first thing in the morning is a poor tool because you have not fully woken up yet. Substitution works far better than resistance. Give your hands and your body something concrete to do in the first 60 seconds, and the reflex reach for the phone simply does not get its usual opening. Window first, phone later. That is step 2. Step 3. Water before caffeine. 7 or 8 hours have passed without fluid. You wake mildly dehydrated, and every system, circulation, digestion, cognition, is running slightly under. A glass of warm or room temperature water, drunk slowly before anything else. It rehydrates gently and signals the digestive system to come online without the shock of caffeine into an already rising cortisol curve. There is also a psychological function that is easy to miss. This is a 2-minute action with no productivity value whatsoever. It is the first unhurried thing in your day, and it establishes a pace. A morning that starts unhurried tends to stay that way. A morning that starts at a sprint rarely slows down again. Make it easy on yourself. Leave a glass by the sink or on the counter the night before, so the first action requires no preparation and no thought. And coffee is not being taken away from you, it is simply being moved. Many people find that delaying it by even 30 to 60 minutes, after water and light, produces cleaner energy and a much softer afternoon. Water first, coffee can wait. That is step 3. And now, step 4. The one almost everyone gets backwards. Step 4. Light before input. Within the first 30 minutes of waking, get outside or at minimum stand at an open window in natural daylight for 5 to 10 minutes. Before email, before news, before messages. Here is what most people do instead, and why it is exactly backwards. They give the first waking minutes to input, the phone, the headlines, other people's demands, and then wonder why they feel scattered by 9 and exhausted by 2. Two things go wrong simultaneously. First, your circadian clock is waiting for one signal to set the entire day's rhythm, natural light in the eyes. Indoor light is far too dim to do this job properly. Even an overcast sky outdoors is many times brighter than a well-lit room. Miss that signal and the whole day's energy curve and tonight's sleep drift out of alignment. Second, input during the cortisol rise is the worst possible timing. Your nervous system is at its most reactive in that window. A stressful message read at 6:40 does not land the way the same message lands at 1000 square. It lands on a system that is chemically primed to amplify it, so the order is not arbitrary. Light is the input your biology is asking for. Everything else can wait 30 minutes, and almost none of it will have changed by then. A practical note, because this step has the highest failure rate. You do not need a walk for this. Standing at an open door with your water for 5 minutes in whatever weather is enough. Gray and raining still works. The comparison is not sunny versus cloudy, it is outdoors versus indoors, and outdoors wins by an enormous margin even under heavy cloud. Light first, input second, that is step 4. Step 5, move gently before you're asked to perform. 20 minutes of easy movement. A walk, ideally outdoors, so it combines with step 4. Stretching, simple calisthenics. Nothing strenuous, nothing that requires recovery. Japan's most visible version of this is Radio Taiso, the short broadcast exercise routine that has run every morning since 1928. Simple movements, done together at the same time. Its value is not fitness. It is that the body is gently brought online, in a predictable way, before the day makes any demands. Gentle morning movement raises circulation and body temperature, both of which support alertness, and outdoor movement adds the calming effect of moving through a landscape. Intense exercise here is optional, and layered directly onto the cortisol peak, can leave some people more depleted later in the day. And if 20 minutes is unrealistic, take 3. Roll your shoulders, reach overhead, turn slowly side to side, walk to the end of the street and back. The physiological benefit scales with duration, but the psychological benefit, the sense of having inhabited your body before the day claimed your mind, arrives almost immediately. The purpose is not to accomplish something. It is to arrive in your body before the day arrives at you. That is step 5. Step 6. Sit down for the first meal, not standing at the counter, not in the car, not while scrolling, sitting with the food in front of you, for as long as it takes to eat it properly. The physiological reasoning is straightforward. Eating slowly and seated supports digestion and gives the fullness signal, which takes roughly 20 minutes, time to arrive. But the more important function is that this is a deliberate stop, placed before the day's momentum begins. Most people move from waking straight into acceleration and do not stop until evening. A seated breakfast interrupts that pattern early, and it establishes that stopping is permitted, which makes it far more likely you will stop again later, at lunch, in the afternoon, when you actually need it. There is a detail here that matters more than it appears. Put the phone in another room, not just face down on the table. A face-down phone still occupies part of your attention, because some part of your mind is tracking it. A phone in another room is genuinely gone, and the difference in how present the meal feels is immediate and obvious. 10 or 15 minutes, seated, screen out of sight. That is step 6. And now, step 7, the one that determines whether any of this survives past the first week. Step 7, keep the order fixed. Not the timing, not the duration, the order. Here is the failure mode for every morning routine ever attempted. It works beautifully for 4 days. Then a bad night happens, or an early meeting, or a sick child, and the routine collapses and it does not come back, because it depended on ideal conditions. Japan's answer to this is kata, fixed form. The same sequence, in the same order, every time until it requires no decisions at all. The power of kata is that it survives compression. On a normal day, your kata might be up, window, water, 10 minutes outside, 20-minute walk, seated breakfast. On a chaotic day, it becomes up, window, water, 2 minutes at the open door, 1 stretch, breakfast standing but with the phone face down. The sequence held, the durations shrank. This is the difference between a routine and a form. A routine breaks when conditions change. A form bends and continues because what makes it work is the order, not the length. So write your sequence down. 6 steps on a piece of paper, somewhere you will see it. And on the hard mornings, do not skip them, shrink them. A 90-second version of your morning done every day for a year will do more for you than a perfect 90-minute version done 12 times. This also removes the thing that kills most attempts at change, the all-or-nothing collapse. When a routine is something you either complete or fail, 1 missed morning becomes 2, and 2 becomes abandonment. When it is a form that can shrink, there is no such thing as failing it. There is only a shorter version, and a practice you cannot fail is a practice you keep. That is step 7. Here is the whole hour in one breath. Wake at the same time and get up on the first decision. Open the window before you open your phone, water before caffeine, light before input, gentle movement before performance. Sit down for the first meal, and keep the order fixed, shrinking it rather than skipping it on hard days. 7 steps. Roughly 60 minutes on a good morning, or 6 on a difficult one. Nothing purchased. Nothing added to your life. Every one of them is something you already have access to today. A window, a glass of water, a doorway with daylight behind it, and the decision to put them in a particular order. What you are doing is deciding deliberately what the first hour contains, instead of letting it be filled by whatever reaches you first, because that hour is going to be filled either way. The only question is whether you filled it or whether your phone did. And do not try to build all 7 at once. Take one, the one that seems most obviously missing from your mornings. Do only that every day, for a week, until it stops requiring any thought. Then add the next. Built this way over a couple of months, the sequence becomes something your body simply does, and you will find yourself moving through it on autopilot on the days you are far too tired to have chosen it deliberately. That is the point at which it stops being a routine you maintain and becomes simply how your mornings go. The 2 people who woke at the same time tomorrow will not diverge because one had more discipline or a better life. They will diverge because one of them designed the first 60 minutes and the other inherited them. Now, before you close this, I want to ask you honestly, which of these 7 is the one your mornings are most missing? Is it the snooze you always take? The phone you reach for before the window? The light you never get outside for? Or is it the fixed order? The form that would let your morning survive the days when everything goes wrong? Drop the number in the comments, 1 through 7. Because naming the one thing you will change tomorrow is the first step toward a different day. And someone reading your comment may recognize their own scattered mornings in it and decide to change theirs too. If this changed how you think about your first hour, share it with one person who wakes up already behind and has never once suspected that the problem might be solvable before breakfast. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one. This content is for general well-being and lifestyle inspiration only, not medical advice.